Welcome to Healers Talk Healing, the podcast where we gather to explore the art and science of holistic healing, uncovering the secrets to a happier, healthier you. I'm your host, Nina Ganguly, and together we will delve into the intriguing world of holistic healing, delving into the mind-body connection, ancient wisdom, and natural remedies. Get ready for enlightening stories, thought-provoking expert interviews, and practical tips that will empower you to unlock your true potential and embrace a vibrant, balanced life. Whether you're an experienced wellness enthusiast or simply curious about the power of healing, join us on this exhilarating journey as we share the wisdom and insights that can truly transform your life. It's time to embark on a voyage towards a happier, healthier you. So, without further ado, let's dive into the captivating world of Healers Talk Healing. Welcome back to Healers Talk Healing. Some conversations invite you to slow down and really reflect on who you are and how you've been shaped and what might actually be possible for you. Today is one of those conversations because we're exploring something that quietly influences every part of our lives. How our personality is formed, how our experiences shape us, and how much of what we do is actually being guided by the subconscious mind. And joining us once again is Chris Pizzarello. Chris began his journey in science, studying biology with a focus on neurology and biochemistry, and spending over 20 years as a clinical laboratory scientist. But through working with people, he realized that health and happiness go far beyond what we can measure, and have everything to do with how we think, feel, and experience life. That realization led him to emotional freedom technique, hypnosis, NLP, tools he now uses to help shift patterns at a deeper level. In this conversation, we explore how our environment shapes who we become, why certain patterns stick, and how the subconscious mind is always working behind the scenes, guiding our habits, reactions, and identity. And if something in this conversation resonates with you, we invite you to take it a little deeper. Chris will be guiding a live workshop on May the 17th at 2 p.m. That's Pacific Standard Time, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where you can experience this work for yourself. Ask questions and begin to apply it into your own life. Find all the details in the show notes. Now let's begin. Okay. Well, I'm excited to have another wonderful conversation in this series. Before we get to that wonderful live time with you in May, Chris, you're back. I'm excited. One of the things, so Chris and I talk every week, by the way, because we are part of the mastermind in our Healing Heroes membership. And we were talking quickly, and I remembered, because Lynn had shared something with me, that you are a scientist. And we don't want to forget that, the base and the core of your learning is science. And that's why I find it so fascinating to speak with you, because you have this beautiful balance.
Yes.
Science and, I was going to say fiction, but not fiction. Guess where my mind is, right?
That's a book and movie category.
Right.
But I like the idea because, I know what you're going to say. It's like this non-science part.
Mm-hmm.
But in truth, it's all science.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not pushing that because there is a subtleness to it.
Mm.
When we talk about philosophy and psychology, even though they're not hard science like math and chemistry, they're still sciences.
Mm.
They got that ology after it.
Ology. Okay.
Yeah. So, you got your biology, you got your psychology. So you have that part of it. And we talking about the brain, and what is the biggest supercomputer in anyone's life? It's what's between your ears.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And it's super powerful.
Yes, it is.
AI might be faster than us, but I believe we still have these nuances that will never be replicated that way.
No, I think that AI is great for large data sets.
Mm-hmm.
When there's a billion possibilities, you and I going through a billion possibilities is impossible. It can do a billion possibilities, but it doesn't know, even though they say it's teaching it to learn, it doesn't truly know how to learn. We
Yes.
are, yeah, we are the learners. We are the creators. We are the doers.
And
And and
go ahead.
what we can do in fractions of a second, and all the operations that we can do, as we were talking about last week, we were talking about the subconscious mind and how it runs your heart and your lungs and your digestion and your hormones and everything all at once simultaneously, down to the cellular level.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And I was listening to a podcast talking about all our cells and that we're made of over 18 billion cells.
That's a few.
Yeah, just a couple here or there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure plus or minus.
It's so fascinating. And even the conversation and the topic that we're going to delve a little deeper in today, which is about personality. There was um, a beautiful thing that you said yesterday, and I wish I could remember, but I've got foggy brain sometimes. And so there was something that you said about personality. And if you remember, maybe you can say it.
Well, what I was saying is we talk about, and this is, again, speaking the language of hypnosis, is
Mm,
we talk about suggestibility
mm,
and what we are suggestible to. And how does this come down? This is leading into how we develop personality. It comes into what we're exposed to. We have this genetic part, right? And the genetics determines a lot of things. Of your hair color, your eye color, how tall you will be. Not 100% because, if you have a bad diet, you might not be as tall as somebody who had an optimal diet. But let's put that aside. It's going to determine a lot of things about you, you know. But the personality part is about the environment, the exposure, and who you were exposed to and at what time. So when we talk about personality, we start with our first teacher, mom.
mm,
Mm.
Mom is the first teacher. And what mom is suggestible to, in other words, the way she interprets her environment, helps to give you that same thing, how you interpret your environment.
Mm.
So it's not a direct passage from blood to blood,
mm-hmm,
but it is a language. A lot of it's unspoken. We talk about communication, and we think about communication, we think about speaking to each other. Now, in this modern age, we talk about emails and texting,
Yeah.
yep.
but truly, when we're in a conversation with somebody, about 60% of our conversation is nonverbal. It's
Yeah.
those visual cues, the energetic part, because I'm sorry, this may turn some people off, but we are electromagnetic biochemical beings. And we interpret those chemicals, whether it be pheromones that we smell, the electromagnetic part of it, the how warm or cold somebody is. If you get close to somebody, you may be able to feel their body heat. And all
Mm.
these things add up into how we communicate with the people that we know. Now, this kind of conversation in the internet, like we're doing right now, there's
Mhm.
still that component of body language,
Mm-hmm.
and even on the telephone. And there's an interesting study done by many scientists, but one in particular who put it into use was Dr. Roger Callahan, and he was able to have a device he created that was able to read the nuances in people's voices,
Ah,
that electromagnetic part of it that we're giving out.
Mm.
So that communication is
mhm.
really important about how the baby, the child, the teenager, and the young adult learns about their environment and how they fit in and who they define themselves as.
Mm.
And it all starts with mom.
Mm.
So for all the women out there listening,
No pressure, Mom.
Right. I was just gonna
we
say.
we owe it all to you.
Okay.
Mm.
And some may say that's a beautiful thing, and then others may go, "Oh, well."
Well,
But
and
yeah,
it is about and there may be interpretations, because you hear about people who have rough childhoods and they turn out to
Mm-hmm.
be beautiful
right.
people, but it's
Mhm.
about how they interpreted what they were getting from the people who were surrounding them.
So here's the question, Chris, because I was just going to ask you about what happens in those situations. Does interpretation, is that innate, or is that like, the nurture versus nature conversation?
I
If
was,
you are
yes,
in
thinking that.
in an environment that is, let's just say, not conducive to psychological well-being, and yet you
Mhm.
turn out to be a normal, like normal, I'm
Balance.
Right.
putting quotes, balanced human being, like, how does that happen?
Well, I think we'll start on the negative part
Mm-hmm.
first, because it's easier to describe. And I hate this because I don't like thinking about negatives, but we sometimes do. You have to be able to to understand darkness to understand light.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So a lot of the negative interpretations that we have are teaching tools, and they're also caused by biochemical reactions. There's a part of our brain called the amygdala that stores memory, and it specifically is very strong with negative memories, like being chased by a dog,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
burning your hand, falling off a bike, scraping your knee. Those things get enforced very, very strongly, unfortunately, because we'd like to be able to enforce the birthday party,
Mhm.
the time that you were picked first because you showed up, in some way, like you did the best on a test at school. We like to think about those things more, but we think about the time we burned our hand.
Mm.
And what happens inside of that is that there is this biochemical, electromagnetic interaction that is kind of like writing a file in your brain. And it really is almost like a memory stick that we have inside our brain. You can almost picture it. You kind of plug it in, and it's there. That
Yeah.
hard drive is tremendously huge. And like I started this conversation, that this brain is the most powerful supercomputer that exists, more powerful than any computer that we're able to create at this time. And I believe more powerful than any computer we will ever create.
That makes sense. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, perfect.
So, it, and when we started that conversation, the one thing I continue to think about is the fact that our brains are able to pick up so many nuances also emotionally, as well as a computer may pick up physical cues in some ways, but I am unable to fathom the ability to connect with that emotional component and experience the electromagnetic energy field in a way that makes every person unique and different, and the ability to contribute and have a plethora of information that helps us create and unite and work together and move forward in our lives. I could be wrong, but I believe only as human beings are we able to go to those levels of minute details that uh, allow us to be creators.
Yeah, I totally agree with that sentiment because I think that all the things that make us human are all the things that make us special. And so you're 100% correct. And I'll continue on this idea of personality. And we back to Nina's question. As we see the negative, and we're talking about biochemical reactivity and memory storage, some people, and this is again, now we're going into genetics. Some people have more neurochemicals than others.
Oh, okay.
Mm,
I
okay.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
this is, I mean, we see it. There's people who are in need of it. It could be diet related, or it could be genetic, or it could be a combination. So something that happens to somebody who's less sensitive, and I'm using that
Mhm.
as a baseline, not as a judgment, but that some people react more. And the example of that is I have 100 people, they're at a crosswalk, and they're all going to start crossing the street. The light turns green. You can imagine them in a file wide this way, and they're all stepping out of the street. And all of a sudden, turning the corner is a taxi cab. They all jump back. 99 of them have no reaction, and one does. Where they take away, it's very dangerous to walk into the street until other people walk out there, or I better look both ways all the time, one extra time because that car may come. But 99 people may just go about their day and never react to that. So that extra sensitivity can lead to the buildup of things that make us more shy.
Hmm.
Mhm. Mhm.
And the maybe and when it comes to like having these negative interactions inside of our family, inside of our household, inside of our school time.
Mhm.
Because remember, when we get to age 5, we start going to school. And now it's even
Right.
earlier when we talk about preschool,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we go to school and we're very young. We're still very, very, very much impressionable. And it's not until we reach about age 9 that we start being able to filter out what is real and what is good, right and wrong, what is good and bad. That filter doesn't develop before then, some a little earlier, some a little later. But think about this, and it's a really interesting thought. If everything that is shown to you by your your parents, your mom especially, but your father, then your grandparents, extended uncles, and teachers, very much teachers. If everything they say is correct because you don't have no frame of reference
Mm-hmm.
to know any different, if your teacher teaches you when you're in pre-K, 1 + 1 is 4, that's going to be your fact
Ah.
because you have no way of discerning whether that is correct or not. You have, we, as we don't even realize that we building upon knowledge bases as we grow. And what we're presented in our knowledge base determines our personality. And
Interesting.
we develop this through what we mimic from the people who we are around.
Mm. So I have a question.
Yeah.
So, my question is, when, the people that surround us are the most important in helping helping us determine, I guess, what our personality is and how we react to stimuli. I'm going to say stimuli. I'm going to use my one
I like
scientific
that. I
term,
like that.
my
I like
one
that
scientific
language.
term for this conversation. But when you react to okay, like, I'm just going to tell the truth on myself. The last time I took science was in grade 9. So the when we're reacting to stimuli, and there's so many important people around us, a mother, a father, teachers, what role do extended family members play if they're close to you, like you're living with grandparents or you're living with aunts and uncles? How does that impact your reactivity?
Well, because they're adults, they very highly influence you. It is, I mean, when we're 0 to 3, mom is number one influence. Even if we're going to daycare, and even if you're out of the house all day and mom's working, she's working 9 to 5, child is going to react to the person that he or she is with the most amount of time. That's mom. Because
Mm,
mom is providing food. Mom is giving bath. Mom is playing with you. Mom is paying attention to you. Well, we of course we hope all these things are happening.
Mhm.
so we're
And
talking in
if
a normal, like an average scenario.
right, but let's say
Yes.
mom is not in the picture anymore,
Mhm.
and grandmother is now the primary person,
Mm,
then that will be that person that person kind of imprints on. And let's say that
Okay.
in a case of divorce, where the child splits time between mom and dad now has a new wife, there's influence on that end as well.
Mm.
We take in everything that we get exposed to, and we try to make there's this, and I like what you said, reaction to stimuli, because we spend our whole life trying to interpret stimuli,
mm,
and we have frames of reference, and those frames change from day to day, week to week, hour to hour. As we learn, we build our knowledge base, we build who we are and who we try to determine ourselves to be. Now, okay, some people will like the color blue. It's just something maybe it's the way it feels to their eyes. Maybe it's the way that they react to it. Maybe it reminds them of something like a blue flower.
Mhm.
Maybe and everybody says, you know, they ask one of the questions people ask, what's your favorite color?
mhm.
And we all have reasons for it. Some people like green because it reminds them of the grass. It reminds them of trees. Some people like yellow because it's bright and uplifting in their feelings. The things help us to define who we are. It's not the end all and be all because we keep refining ourselves and changing ourselves throughout our whole lifetime.
Mhm.
But the basis of who we are, the basic personality that we develop, is based upon who we get exposed to.
I just like, why I am so fascinated. I'll share a little bit. So my brother and I are 12 years apart. I understand we actually did grow up in different environments, even though we had the same parents. Um, both of us experienced abuse in the family very differently. He has been very impacted by it and his mental health, and he's been diagnosed with a lot of different mental health diagnoses and mental illness diagnoses. I, on the other hand, don't have any of those. So how does that happen? Just out of curiosity, how do we have the same sort of environment, the same biological mother? I'm going to say that because now I'm realizing she's also was 12 years older after she had me. So he has a different mom. I had a different
Mhm.
mom, different father, I guess, at the same time, yet both experiencing some sort of abuse in the household. And my brother suffers with a lot of mental illness, and I do not.
And like you said, you grew up with a different mother and a different father. And as we became parents, if you were a parent,
Mhm.
we had to learn that role. We didn't just, I remember walking out of the hospital with my daughter, and we get home and like, you read the books and and we're like, oh, this is ours. Oh, what are we doing now? Oh, what do we do? Oh, what did we do? But you know, and people who have, we only have one, but people who have second child, and I love the commercials, like the first child, oh, everything's got to be pristine. There's no germs and no. Fourth, third child, go in the mud. I don't care. You're dirty. Who cares? Wipe your face and go back outside. We kind of develop a nuance in what we understand in how we should deal with the children because we learned from our first child.
Mhm.
Mm.
We learned lessons. And maybe let's say you only have one child, but you have a friend who has very close and they have only one child. So now you're sharing those experiences, and it's almost like you have two children, even though you only have one.
Mhm.
You start sharing what went on. The example that I have is that my wife's cousin has a son who's what is it, 4 months younger than my daughter. So they were pregnant at the same time. They gave birth. Now we don't live exactly close, but we've known them over the years. And it's kind of like there's the sharing of knowledge and the things that happen. So that kind of thing, it changes the parent as well.
Mm.
The child changes the parent, and the parent changes the child.
So in essence, what I'm hearing you say is that as the parent, and we'll say mom because mom is the first impression
Hmm.
for the child. Um, we all as human beings continue to grow, continue to learn, continue to
Hmm.
evolve in those
Yeah.
ways. And so I always thought of at the moment of conception, that's part of the consciousness that starts for that particular person. Now they're born, they're, bonding, they're developing this personality.
Hmm.
And it what it appears to me is they're developing it at the level that mom is at that particular time. The way in which she carries herself, the way in which she does things on a day to day, even the small nuances, because I know children and the brain will take in every little thing that we as adults don't even pay attention to anymore.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And so, however, mom is and the way mom is in her life at that time is what we're taking in. So, when the second one comes along, the third one, or in my grandmother's case, the eighth one comes along, it's really like, yeah, yeah, go handle your your little sister kind of
Yeah,
thing. Okay.
especially in families that have a large number of children. There is that kind of beginning of the passage of the
Hmm.
oldest child being taken care of the youngest,
Mhm.
and it developing those parenting skills. So the way that oldest child is going to parent versus the way the youngest child will parent is going to be very different.
Mm.
It's going to be very different. So we're a product of our environment, who we got exposed to when we were born inside of our family system, because and it's also how old were your parents when you were born? I mean, if
Oh.
you're, I mean,
Mm.
think of it. If your mom was 15 when you were born, she wasn't even a fully uh, adult brained person at that point. I mean, we talk
Mhm.
about, and it really makes sense that women come into their fully development in their brain around age 20, 21, 22, and men take to about 25 to 27. So imagine you have a child having a child. It
Mhm.
is a totally different experience than, if this woman now has a baby when she's 25, the second baby. That's a
Mm-hmm.
totally different experience. And it's a totally different experience for her and the child. So there are a lot of things that go into it. And looking at the positive part, when we look at, how we talked about negative, how we look at, negative experience shape us. They tell us what not to do,
Ah,
right?
yes.
Mhm.
Don't hit your little sister.
Mm-hmm.
Don't run in the street. Don't talk back to your teacher. Well, let's talk about some of the positive things that help us as we grow and help define us when we have successes. And they do help to bolster our confidence and our ability to take in that positive energy. Um, I think about it this way: when we see ourselves learning, I think this is a critical thing, because a lot of children have this lack of confidence from the experience of being in school. Because I believe, and I've always believed this, is that children have a very high pressure situation at school. And it's not just about the other children that they're with, it's the expectations that they
Mm-hmm.
have. And it could be the expectations of mom. If you don't get all A's, I'm punishing you.
Mhm.
Or it could be from the teacher. Well, I expect you to do better. So those expectations are shaping on us. But if we get a parent who says, you didn't get the A, but you tried really hard, and let's look at what we could do better next time. Or if you have a teacher who's nurturing, it'll bring out that sensitivity in you in a positive way.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. I like that. And from my own experience that I'm sharing, when I was in first grade, I had a horrible teacher. She was really an old lady. She was in her 80s, if you can imagine this. She was in her 80s, still teaching, and she did not like little boys.
Oh,
Oh.
She
that was
liked little,
problematic.
it was very traumatic because I couldn't get anything right in her eyes because I couldn't sit still
Mhm.
because I was a boy. And in this day and age, they probably would have said I had an attention deficit.
Mm.
And I did, and I naturally, for me, being left-handed, it was more difficult for me to write. And my teacher did not like anybody who pressed hard. And I naturally pressed hard, which, interesting enough, is a character trait coming out through our writing. So there's a lot of there's so many character traits that come out in writing. I won't even discuss it because it's just too many. But it was a character trait, so my teacher did not like me. And it traumatized me to the point I was afraid to speak.
Mm.
And I started stuttering. It was, and it was very, very traumatic. And I was blessed because my mother sat down with me and helped me to learn to read, which my teacher wasn't teaching me, helped me to feel confidence in myself, and helped me to blossom. And so when at the end of first grade, the school said, no, he needs to be left back, and my mother and father said, no, that's not
Mhm.
true. And after my mom sitting with me and helping me to grow and bring my confidence and being nurturing and being what you would expect a mother to be if you were to think about it as in a loving, nurturing way. When I got out of second grade, they said, "Oh no, he's really advanced, and
Mm.
he almost can skip third grade." So how do you go from he's too stupid to being too smart?
Mhm.
It's about environment. Like I said, I had a really bad teacher, but I had a lovely mother.
Mm.
And she recognized that I needed the extra help, and she
Mhm.
gave it to me when I needed it. I was blessed because I could have been, if my mother was too busy paying attention to her job. She was too busy cooking and cleaning. She was too busy taking care of the household. Too maybe didn't have enough energy for herself. And having another child who was 3 years younger, and that child's not even in kindergarten yet, and here I have this problem child.
Mhm.
That's a lot on the parent.
Mhm.
But she took the time and she grew me and helped me to become. I credit her to this day of her helping me to become who I am.
Mm.
Mhm. It sounds a lot like with the adage nurture or nature, it sounds like our personalities are developed so much more from the nurture, from the environment, from what we experience from the time of birth and onward. And we
Mhm.
can shift our personalities. I do have a question though. Is there such a thing as a core personality? Sometimes when we see very young children, they may have certain traits. I think about my oldest daughter. When I carried her in the womb, she barely moved. In fact, to the point where I was like, "Oh my God, is this baby still viable?" And she was. Moving forward, she's a person who is just so chill and flow. And when she has too much energy, even at the age of 5, we would have family gatherings, and I'd go, "Where's Liel? Where?" I would go upstairs, and she was in a room, and she put herself to bed because she was tired. You don't find that in most kids, but
Mm-mm.
No,
that's still part.
no,
No.
no.
Nope.
So this is why I'm asking, because even now, when there's an overload of stimulus, there's a part of her that just says, "Okay, I have to take care of myself, and I'm going to, go somewhere else, shut down for a while, whatever." And she's just very flow. This is what I'm thinking of in terms of, is there core personality traits that we have, but then we shift peripherally, on the outside of that in various ways.
I think you got two components here, and you brought it out really well. I think the first component is you said how relaxed she was in the womb, and I think that has to do with the way she was absorbing nutrition from you, and the
Oh,
way
Oh.
see because there is a nutritional part of this,
okay.
and whatever you were doing, it was the perfect environment for her
Mhm.
because she was just very relaxed. There was no negative energy. She didn't get exposed to, think about all the things that babies get exposed to before they're born. Mom smoked, if mom drank, if mom had a car accident, if mom had trauma. There is that, and when the baby's in the womb, there is a direct blood connection between the mother and the baby. That placenta is the direct connection. I mean, you don't share blood, but it's that place where you're transferring, and neurotransmitters get transferred. There's chemicals and all kinds of things that get transferred. Immunity even gets transferred in the womb. So, yeah, we have that part of us that, hey, if your mom had, picture this, and then I don't hate the pictures, but picture this: your mother had to leave her home while you were in utero and had to go live somewhere else, not of her own accord. Maybe without anything but the clothing on her back. That you're not there, and you don't have the outside stimulus, but you have the inside stimulus.
Mm.
Right? Other thing is, again, your daughter learned, she was able to be in touch with herself to know what to do when she was out. She was done. And some people never get there. When they get done, they get into an overload state, and they go into a fear state, an anxiety state. So she learned early how to soothe herself and how to deal with the overload. That's a rare thing, but it's a beautiful thing.
I was going to say, that's a gift. That's a
Yeah,
gift
it
to
is.
be able to recognize that when you're so young.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, when I carried her, I was a vegetarian who only ate organic food. I also ate a lot of raw food, living food, and no dairy. And both the kids from 0 to 6, no meat, no dairy, no gluten, no.
I feel like a
They were,
horrible mother now. I'm like, I had McDonald's. My kids had McDonald's.
And I was able to nurse them for a year and a half, and I ate very well, and
You see,
but I thought it was unusual, but I always thought it was part of her
it is
core
unusual.
personality. Yeah.
It is unusual. But going to you, Nina, I met your daughter. Your daughter's awesome. So
She is.
those things that you're thinking about, they didn't affect her in that way. Again, and this is another thing about your personality. And I was talking about this with somebody about 5 years ago, and it's one of the core things, and I tried to make it in the training that I had. It's something that I had to translate because English wasn't her native tongue, how she could understand it. And as humans, we have warm personalities and we have cold personalities. Some people are warmer. They're more outgoing. They seek attention more. And others, they're shyer. They want to, they're at a party and they much rather be in the corner or hanging on the couch. They don't want to be out there, be dancing in the center of attention. It's the way, and then there'll be people who, because they're warmer, they'll go and they'll seek people to talk to, even if it's somebody who's hiding in the corner. That quote unquote wallflower. We need a combination of that in our lives. we can't be all warm and we can't be all cold. Because you've seen it yourself. You vacillate. There's sometimes that you're very approachable, and there's other times you're going to put that wall up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want it. I don't need it. Stay away. And other times, like, hey, come on in. I'm ready for. And so, and really, to have the balance inside of your personality of being able to be warm and be cold is important, because the ones on the extremes, those are the ones that are having difficulties. The ones who are so overloaded and get so cold that they have anxiety all the time
Mm.
because of the overload, or the ones who are always chasing attention. Think about that. You always want to be the center of attention. It's all about me. It's all about me. It's all about me. The world's about me. I need it about me. Does that ever happen? No, those people have toxic personalities.
Mm-hmm.
So we strive for the middle. Hopefully we get a little bit of the shyness, and we get a little bit of the outgoingness, so that we can function inside of society. Because, I mean, look, not everybody's comfortable talking on the stage,
Sure.
and
Mhm.
even the ones who appear like they're comfortable talking on that stage, they still get that rumble in their belly. Oh, I'm going to do it again. No, no, no.
Mhm.
They're not going to be able to get their attention. And then they go out and do that, and they're just out there, and they're doing it, and they're talking. Everybody feels like they're bigger than they are.
Mm.
They're 10 feet tall when they're on the stage. Everybody wants to hear what they have to say.
So I have a question. I have a question for
Mhm.
you. Do you mind if I interrupt you for a minute?
Oh, please, please.
My
I don't
question
mind.
is this: since we were talking about personality and nurture and nature, and are we built this way? Do we stay this way? Inside of do we stay this way? Let's just say I am generally, which I'm not, but let's just say I'm generally more of a cold type. I'm more quiet. I'm more to myself. Um, However, for some reason, I would like not to be that way. I'd like to be able to engage more. I'd like to be able to connect more. And let's just say that's because maybe I'm trying to do something different in life. And in order to do that something different in life, I have to show up differently. Otherwise, it's not going to grow or develop the way that I want to.
Mhm.
Is it possible to move from one space of being more on the cold side than into a space that I can leverage to get where I want to go?
And I'll tell you this. This is about habit forming,
Mm.
right? And we can talk about habit. Habit you typically takes 21 to 30 days to establish.
Yes.
And we got to do it over and over and over and over again. So we're coming from this cold place. I don't want to be on camera. This is horrible. They're going to see me. This is horrible. And if you can convince yourself to do it and do it again and do it again and do it again and keep doing it and keep showing up, then you move out of that space where you're cold and you become warm.
Mm.
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 Okay.
Right? So you have to create it as a new habit. Right? In the background, you still may have that, I really don't want to go on camera. But it's like, I really don't want to go on stage, but you do it because you've done it, and you keep doing it, and you keep doing it. And if you keep showing up and you keep doing things, things get easier. Here's the bigger, because you brought this up. I'm going to ask the bigger question, which is the interesting question. The people who want to show up bigger in life, who are kind of shying, and then the people who are bigger in life and they want to be more quiet. Why is that? Why do we always seek in the greener grass on the other side of the fence? Why do we always seek out the greener grass? And the reason is because we're incomplete.
Mm.
Oh,
We're incomplete because humans need other humans. So we need
okay.
someone else to complete who we are. And it could be a family, it could be one person, it could be that special friend, it could be a wife, it could be a husband, it could be all your cousins.
Mm.
But we need something that we lack because we got the yin and the yang. That's the best way to think of it. And there's some yang in the yin, and there's some yin in the yang.
I love that. I love that. And that's, we could talk for hours and hours and hours about
Yes.
this particular subject because it can go in so many different ways.
Mhm.
Um, but I want to ask one last question before we wrap up, which is how does I kind of know the answer, but I'm asking it for out there. When we are trying to create these habits, do something outside of our comfort zone, we're having a lot of trouble doing it on our own.
Mhm.
How does hypnosis begin to help support that individual's growth towards those habits or those changes?
And that's a really great question. So let's examine why those habits are so hard to fix at the first point. Right, a lot of us come into the beginning of the year and say, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go to the gym every day. I'm going to work out. I'm going to get in best shape of my life. I'm going to look great on the beach. You're going to see me. I'm going to be so strong, and all the muscles are going to show. Everybody's going to want to look at me because I've been to the gym every day. And you go to the gym January 2nd, January 3rd, January 4th, 5th, 6th. All of a sudden, you don't go to the gym. Why is that? Well, the answer is the subconscious mind has a thing that it defines who you are.
Right.
And part of that definition is Chris doesn't go to the gym. Why are you going to the gym every day? Chris doesn't go to the gym. Stop it now. And I'll do anything to put an obstacle in that way so that Chris doesn't go to the gym. He'll put
Mm,
any obstacle in the way.
mm,
Oh,
mm.
you're too tired. Oh, you could be reading a book, or I just want to eat a chocolate cake. Yeah,
I feel
you
like
put
you're in
it,
my brain, Chris.
but this is every. I'm using the gym as an easy
Hmm.
example, right? So there's because the subconscious mind has defined what's good and what's bad, because that's all the subconscious wants to do. This is good, this is bad. And even
Okay.
though going to the gym is good, it's not what you do, so it's bad.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay.
Hmm.
So we want to stay the same. Same is good. I know this. I know this. This is the same. This is good. It must be good. I do this. So where does hypnosis help? Because your conscious mind says, "Hey, going to the gym is good." Subconscious mind says, you don't do that. Going to the gym is bad. So is that how do you get that conversation going between the two minds where you can meld them? Well,
Hmm.
that's in the hypnotic trance where both minds are active, and you can feed suggestions from the conscious mind, what the client has told you, or even in self-hypnosis where you focus on that thought. Hey, going to the gym is good. Going to the gym is good. And alternatively, and it's this is harder because hypnosis is relatively easy. But when people chant something, or they have a thing that they say over and over again, or they have a mantra,
Hmm.
Hmm.
that is the breakthrough into the subconscious mind.
Mhm.
We
Wow.
say, do these things over and over again. See, there's lots of hypnotic trance that we don't recognize as trance states, but they are. And that's why, but the easy part to break these things where Chris doesn't go to the gym into Chris goes to the gym is through that hypnotic trance, because I have both parts of the mind working together.
Mm.
Beautiful.
Right?
I love
And
that.
I'm not saying that the
Yes.
other parts don't work. This is just a little bit easier.
Yeah, I'm really hearing how that makes it different. When you said that, it reminds me of in Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich that he talks about autosuggestion and
Mhm.
working with changing that. And so like I said, this is a conversation we could keep having and keep talking about and keep talking about. And this is why I am inviting everyone to hop on and get registered for the live workshop, because you can ask
Yeah.
questions that come up in these conversations. They're not just me and Lynn asking the questions. When you register, you will get the information that you need. All the information will be in our show notes as well as on our site. So please do join us live. It's the conversation can just go deeper, because those of you who are listening to us or watching us can actually talk directly to Chris at some point during the workshop. We're very, very excited to be doing this. As
Yes,
our
we are.
first inaugural workshop, where it's just one of our special healing heroes just giving all their time, and we're very excited for that to happen. So Chris, we do have one more conversation we'll be having again at the end of this series before we go live, and I so look forward to having that one. So stay tuned, everybody. Don't forget to register. Just register. Just don't question yourself. If you're thinking, should I or shouldn't I? You definitely should. I'm
You
just saying.
should.
You
And
should.
it's easy to register.
And I'm going to bring up one other point. There is limited seating to this.
Yes, there is.
We is limited. So you want to get in on this, you should do it now. Do it now.
Absolutely.
Do it
Because
now. I feel like,
yeah.
oh, do it now.
Push the button down here. Down
All
here.
the
No, I mean-
arrows.
So many buttons, but
Do
we
it
have
now.
but seriously, there is limited ability. I will make my time available to everybody. Will be a chat, so we'll be able to, even if you can put your question in the chat, and if it's something that's universal to the group, it will definitely be brought up. And a part of this is also going to be that you get a little taste of hypnosis.
Yes. Yay. Ooh.
Yes.
So you'll get some taste. We will bring out a little bit of how this gets done. We're going to talk about how hypnosis happens. We're going to talk about what are the benefits. We're going to talk about how it has been around as long as there's been human beings.
I love that. I love it. And then we
Yes.
just leave the teaser for everybody now.
Absolutely.
So make sure you go to the links, click on the links. If you have questions, you can DM us. You can ask us questions. We will answer them for you. And if we don't know the answer, we will ask Chris. And we will answer
We
those
will absolutely
questions.
ask Chris. Oh, that's a
That's
nice
a new one,
way.
right? Which is like,
Yes,
ask
a new
Chris.
one. Ask Chris. Yes.
No, that could be a chat.
Absolutely.
That could be a chat.
Thank you once again, Chris, for your generosity of your time, the
Yes.
knowledge that you have. I love talking to you. I love that I get to talk to you twice a week right now in this conversation. You out there will love talking to him too. And until next time, bye for now, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on Healers Talk Healing. We hope you've been inspired and empowered on your holistic healing journey. If you've enjoyed today's episode and want to continue learning and growing with us, don't forget to subscribe, follow, rate, and review our podcast. Your feedback and support mean the world to us. Remember, healing is a lifelong journey, and you have the power to transform your life in profound ways. Stay curious, keep exploring, and never stop believing in your own capacity for healing.